Yes, welcome to the channel, folks. And today, this very day, The Batman lands in cinemas across the world, starring my man R-Pats and the legend that is Paul Dano. So what better time than now to throw a spotlight on the character of Batman in the game of Dice Masters? Stick around for a few seconds, we're going to take a look at some cards. Hello there, thanks for sticking around. It's Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, and I'm back once again with another one of my video presentation thingamadoodads. And as I mentioned in the intro just now, this video today is all about putting a spotlight on the character of Batman in the game of Dice Masters, in honour of the fact that today is the release day for the brand new The Batman movie. Although, what I will say is actually I'm pretty excited to be talking about Batman because he's a childhood favourite character of mine. I loved Batman growing up. For me, Batman's Michael Keaton. Batman's the animated series. I've got fond memories of reading Batman in the comic books, like Keith Giffen's Batman sparking out Guy Gardner in the Justice League series, you know. So, yeah, I love Batman. I've loved him ever since I was a child, and I always have a fond little piece of my heart for Bruce Wayne there. So, yeah, excited to be talking about him today. A bit of context for you if you're new round these parts. If you've never seen a celebrating or spotlight on video from the Ministry of Dice, just to let you know, we don't go through every single card on the theme. So I'm not going to be talking about every Batman that has ever been printed in the history of Dice Masters today. I'm just going to be giving you my top picks, my highlights, talking about Batman cards that I've used in teams, that I've had fun with, that I've built combos around. So just to put you in the loop on that. Although what I will say is that even though I'm putting a bit of a spotlight and celebrating Batman from the history of Dice Masters, there's also going to be a little bit of a spotlight on what Batman might mean in the future of Dice Masters. So make sure you watch the whole video, because if you're a spoiler fan, there might be some things you've not seen before today. Wink, wink. Okay then, well, there you go. There's my little contextual intro done. Let's get into talking about some cards, shall we? Right, okay then, going all the way back to the beginning then, Batman's first appearance in Dice Masters was in the Justice League set. He had cards in the starter set, and then he had one in the main distribution, in the main blind distribution. But the one that's on screen right now is my favourite. I played this one an absolute ton back in the day when Justice League first came out. It's Batman World's Greatest Detective. He's a 5-cost mask with the Justice League affiliation. His game text reads, while Batman is active, whenever you field a different Justice League character, gain 1 life. And then he had Retaliation, which I think is possibly one of my all-time favourite keywords in the game of Dice Masters, and it has never to this day made the comeback that I had hoped it would ever make. There was a little sprinkle in Justice, but it never went anywhere. Anyway, I'm in the weeds, back to Batman. Retaliation, if an affiliated character die is KO'd, deal 1 damage to an opposing player. And his stat line is 134, 255 and 366. So he's not the cheapest character. The fielding costs alone are nothing but painful. And Justice League Retaliation in the Justice League set didn't quite go the places that Villain Retaliation did with Black Manta Deep Sea Deviant. And regular viewers, stroke listeners of the podcast, or people I've played with here in the UK will know I played Black Manta Deep Sea Deviant a lot. But this was fun. I'm always very committed to a themey team. I love the idea that Retaliation was all about, you know, being a team player, and if one of your colleagues got knocked down, you were going to come back stronger, fighting harder kind of thing. I liked the little double-hander on this as well, the fact that he gained life when one was fielded, but then pinged your opponent when one was KO'd. And so one of my favourite little combos, this was back in the days of Blue Eyes White Dragon Global, was to use Zatanna, Actual Magician. So when she's KO'd, she preps a die. So I used to buy a Zatanna, she was a 3-cost mask, buy a Zatanna, KO her with a Blue Eyes White Dragon, that would then help me buy the 5-cost Batman. But then, once Batman was out, just keep rinsing and repeating that process. So it was an extra bit of prep, it was life gain, and it was a bit of a ping. It was a wildly irritating team for my opponents, because it was proper death by 1,000 cuts. So I was just like, 1 damage here, 1 damage there, 2 damage here, 1 damage there. But I just loved the combo, and the fact that Batman was a little bit painful in terms of fielding costs, I used to mitigate using Wonder Woman, whose the subtitles just fallen out my head, but the one that discounted fielding cost. So I just loved the theme of it. I loved Retaliation. I played Villain Retaliation teams, and I played Justice League retaliation teams, and this Batman was the kind of cornerstone of my Justice League retaliation teams. Wildly irritating. Such an annoying team because, I was gaining life and then pinging away, and then they do a bit of damage, but I gain it back up, and yeah, loads of fun. And a great example of using stuff like Blue Eyes White Dragon to kind of control when your characters get KO'd. So there you go, Batman's World's Greatest Detective. Right from the get-go, I was making Batman-related teams. Couple of cards for you now from the War of Light set, the next DC Dice Masters set along. This is Batman Bruce Wayne of Earth and Batman Cowardly and Superstitious Lot. Two Batmans that I made a couple of teams around and played around with. The first, Bruce Wayne of Earth, is a 4-cost mask. He's got those big beefy Batman stats of 1, 3, 4, 2, 5, 5 and 3, 6, 6. His game text reads, if you used a basic action this turn, Batman cannot be blocked. And then he also had a global on there. Use one generic the first time you play a basic action this turn, draw one die and add it to your prep area. So it just had a lot of nice little synergy there. Certainly any card with a game text on it that makes a character die unblockable, especially one with 3, 5 and 6 attack, is worth a look at. Is always worth a look at. And again, despite his painful fielding costs, I definitely built teams that were targeted towards making this Batman unblockable. There's a wealth of cheap basic actions knocking around that you could use in conjunction with this guy, and the fact that he's got the global as well there that would help you add a little bit of rampy prep into the mix whenever you use one. Yeah, it was always worth a look. So I definitely built unblockable Batman teams using this guy. But then Batman Cowardly and Superstitious Lot is interesting. While Batman is active, he deals 1 damage to your opponent when any player uses a basic action. So I really liked this one too, played around with it. It was a bit kind of like a little Achuni style precursor, but what's particularly nice about this is it was when any player used a basic action. So it was a nice little deterrent just to pop on your team and discourage your opponent from buying your basic actions if you had stuff that you needed to form your team around. So you could control some ping by buying basic actions and using them to ping your opponent, but then also you could keep your opponent's basic action use in check a little bit and give them a bit of tax for their usage with this Batman here. So yeah, a couple of interesting War-like Batmans that focused on basic action use, which I thought was interesting. But I must say, the one I built more teams around was the Bruce Wayne of Earth. Unblockable dice. Anything that makes a character unblockable is always worth a second look. Okay, next on the list is Batman Natural Leader from the World's Finest set. And this was the set that first introduced Bat Family affiliation. So you started to see a lot of Bat Family themed teams, and there was a lot of synergy amongst Bat Family characters, and remains to be to this day, lots of characters that sort of rely on other members of the Bat Family. And they had a really strong roster. There was some great Bat Family cards, like Batgirl Babs, Nightwing. I've forgotten the subtitle, but it was the rare Nightwing from the set that did the 4 damage when he attacked. Obviously, the Oracles, with all their various game texts. The most commonly, I suppose, that you'd see out and about would be Master Investigator that had the global tax on it. There was a Robin as well that got a stat bump. He was +3/+3 if there was a Batman in the field. So lots of sort of Bat Family-centric stuff. And this guy was your route to a low-cost Batman because his game text reads, Batman costs 1 less to purchase for each of your different active Bat Family characters. So I've used him loads to kind of fill out the ranks in a Bat Family team. He would just get cheaper as the game went on, as you put more of your Bat Family characters out. You could mitigate the high fielding costs with a Commissioner Gordon from the set. So it just a really lovely kind of team synergy for a themey team, a Bat Family themey team. And then a little later on, there was a promo card from the Batman animated series set called Robin Reckoning. And he was unblockable. He was unblockable if there was a Batman in the field. So again, what you would do is you'd build up your ranks of control, get your Babs out, get your Oracle out, get your Nightwing out, pop your Commissioner Gordon out to help you with your fielding cost pain. By that point, you'd be able to buy your Batmans for 1, and then you load up on your Robins. You got a big old army of good defenders and control, and you just start steaming your unblockable Robins through. Which, incidentally, that Robin Reckoning, if you had more than four or more Bat Family characters, he'd go back into the field after his unblockable attack, which was super sweet. Not only that, it was just a way, this Batman's got decent stats. He's a beefy boy, is Batman. So it was a good way of getting cheap, beefy static characters into the field too. So I've used this one loads. And if you're looking for a nice combo piece with your Robins, if you want to make a little Batman and Robin team, or you're looking to do something with your Bat Family theme in general, then you'd often see this guy cropping up because it was just a nice, decent slab of meat for cheap, you know? Okay, next on the list then, we have a card from the Batman set, which surprisingly enough had Batman characters in it. The one I would argue I played with the most was the rare Batman Always Prepared. It was a flip card, and on the one side it had the Bat Family affiliation, and on the other side it had the villain affiliation. It was a 5-cost fist, and on the Bat Family side it read, when fielded, your opponent must reroll all of their villain character dice. And then if you flipped it, on the villain side it said, when fielded, your opponent must reroll all of their non-villain character dice. So, I just love these kind of moments of chaos, these risk and reward moments where you can slam down something like a Batman, force your opponent to reroll all their dice, and just see what happens, see what's left standing. On a good day, they'll end up re-rolling everything onto energy, so you'll have eliminated their field. On a bad day, they'll end up re-rolling maybe 1 or 2 of their things out of the field. So it was just really disruptive, really put your opponent on the back foot. It was unpredictable, and I just love stuff like that. Now, again, to reiterate, I play a lot of themey-related formats. Single affiliations, one of my favourite formats of all time. This was a great card to put on Bat Family teams, particularly if the format, if the TO was allowing flip cards. Because you could guarantee, you knew full well through the course of a themey single affiliation event, that you were either going to be facing teams of all villains or facing teams of all non-villains in the large majority of instances. So you knew right from the outset which side you wanted your Batman on. The only downside of this was when you forgot at the beginning of your turn to flip it to the relevant side that you wanted to use. He's also got really painful fielding costs again. He's 1, 2, 3 on his level 1, 2, and 3. And the Commissioner Gordon that I mentioned before, Good Cop, the one that gives the fielding discount to non-villain characters, is obviously great if he's on his Bat Family side, but if you flipped him and you're using the villain side, then your Commissioner Gordon in your Bat Family theme team's not going to help you out. But you know what? Worth it. Totally worth paying that fielding cost for the wild abandon of risk and unpredictability that this guy brings. I just loved it. Really, really loved it. Now, along with this set, there was an organised play kit that came out, and there was another Batman-related character in there. Batman, I Am the Knight. This was the Batman from the Batman Animated Series 3-part organised play kits. It remained a flip card, had Bat Family on one side and Justice League on the other side, and this read, on the Bat Family side, while Batman is active, when you field a Bat Family character die, KO target character die with fielding cost of 0. And then on the Justice League side, it said, when Batman is active, when you field a Justice League character die, KO target character die with a fielding cost of 0. Which is just fun. He was lower cost at a 4-cost fist, so that was nice. Obviously got those big stats. Great to have on the table just because it's awesome to have Batman Animated Series artwork on your map. But it was nice. It was handy just to... There were things at that time that had no fielding costs that it was lovely to ping off. The least of which would have been probably an Oracle that was causing you some pain. Or just remove a couple of sidekicks to thin the field. Or, I don't know. It was just one that I played around with quite a bit. But if I'm being honest, I probably just put it on the team because I wanted the Batman Animated Series artwork. But it still had a place. So there you go. A couple of cards from the Batman set. Now then, the next Batmans on my list here are not my picks, actually. I'm not throwing a spotlight on these. It's my partner in crime, Andy, who's throwing the spotlight on these. But I feel like I can speak about them knowledgeably because I have faced them many times. They're both from the Harley Quinn team pack, and they are Batman Strikes Terror into Criminal Hearts and Batman Plays Too Rough. Now, these both lean into psychic-related strategies, and my man Andy is a big fan of psychic-related strategies. Probably because he has a freakish, uncanny ability to be able to just roll psychics whenever he wants. I mean, annoyingly, freakishly frequent, just psychics, armies of psychics all the time. But these two Batmen, they both kind of lean into psychic strategies in slightly different ways. Strikes Terror into Criminal Hearts reads, while Batman is active, while your psychic character dice are attacking, they get +2 attack. So this is all about making your psychics a much more threatening force in the field. If you've got your little army of sidekicks together, you can move them from a 1 attack to a 3 attack with this Batman out in the field, and that is just really frightening. It's not to be sniffed at all, especially when you've got a 4, 5 or 7 attack Batman leading the charge. It's not difficult to get sidekicks in the field either. You know, Andy, through the years, has tried this card out with Lita from the WWE box set. He's tried it out with Instant War, with the Psychic Maker Globals on Atlantis and Professor X and the Collector and such like. So there's lots of ways you can build up your psychic force, even if you haven't got the mythically freakish ability to roll psychics when you want. So even 2, 3, 4 psychics out in the field with this Batman out becomes something much more threatening and much more, damaging for your opponent. The other Batman comes at it from a bit of a different angle. He reads, Batman gets +1 attack and +1 defense for each psychic character die in the field zone, both players. If your opponent has an active villain character dice, Batman gains Overcrush. So this is all about using your army of sidekicks to make your Batman enormous and then giving it Overcrush. And what Andy has done many times to me in the past has just filled his field with sidekicks. Not just sidekicks, by the way, actually, I forgot to mention allies too. I've seen a fair number of Wongs in my time. Ally Wongs getting either +2 attack or all just camping out in the field to make the Batman bigger. And then using the globals on cards like Pandora's Box basic action or Monument to Evil basic action to give an opposing character the villain affiliation in order to guarantee the Overcrush there. And I've definitely seen some huge Batmen steaming across the field at me. Just getting a massive stat bump. Instant War's great with this guy, for example. You fire it off, force both characters to draw from their bag, and any sidekicks they pull get field up to 3. You can have a sudden, enormous leap in attack capacity on that Batman using Instant War. Not ones that I've played with a great deal, but I've definitely faced a great deal, and I know that people build combos around the Batmen from the Harley Quinn team pack. Keeping this thing moving then, and the next Batman I want to throw a spotlight on is from the Justice campaign box, and it's Batman the Smart One. It's no secret, I've already mentioned it several times in this video, and regular viewers will know I love theme-y teams. I love making teams around affiliation themes in particular. And this guy sits super, super well on Justice League teams. He's a 5-cost mask, and he reads, while Batman is active, your Justice League character dice other than Batman get +1 attack, +1 defense, and cost 1 less to field. And he's got the slightly smaller stat line from the earlier version of Batman, 143, 254, and 265. So yeah, he just, obviously, he has a place on Justice League teams. The little stat buff is really nice. The help with fielding costs is really nice. He's a mask character, so he fits in really well with stuff like Green Lantern human teams. I use him with my Green Arrow team, no fancy rings. So this is in the Doom Patrol team pack. And Green Arrow, when he's fielded, does a point of damage equal to the number of Justice League characters you have to each character die in the opposing field. So I like to build up a little force of Justice League characters, including the Batman, and then drop a Green Arrow in the field, clear the board, and then with Batman's stat buff, and they're already pretty decent stats, steam over for a 1-turn kill. Because that's how I do. Just a little bit of ramp help with the fielding cost, a little bit of a stat buff. How could you go wrong? How could you go wrong? So if there's one from the Justice campaign box that I played the most, it would be this one. So I am all up to date. The Justice campaign box and its associated team packs are the most recent DC Dice Masters release in the game. And we can see from just the small selection from the handful of Batman character cards that I've highlighted in this vid so far that there's lots of interesting combos and team brews that he can fit into, and I only even really scratched the surface. In fact, I'd encourage you to head to the comments down below and let me know what combos you've used these Batman with, or point out if I've neglected one. By all means, put me straight and let me know if there's a Batman character card that I've not had in this video so far that I really should have given some attention to. But the question at hand now is whether the Caped Crusader is going to continue to be relevant ongoing. And the answer to that is a resounding yes. With what we've seen so far in the upcoming Kryptonite Crisis set, is that Batman is going to have a place for some time yet. Here on screen right now are the two rarities that we've seen spoiled so far, the common and the super rare. And there's a couple of notable things about these Batman character cards. The first thing that leaps out at you is the fact that he is a triple affiliation character. Both rarities there, the Rooftops and the Batman Inc., the common and the super rare, have got Bat Family, Justice League and Super Friends. So if you're a themey team builder like me and you like playing around with affiliation related teams, this Batman is a card that needs looking at because he can fit into lots of different possibilities. You know, time will tell when we see more of the set whether there's more mileage to be gotten out of that, but it's certainly something of note. The other thing that got mouths going in the community when we first saw these cards was the global. Pay 2 masks. Each player may field up to 2 sidekick dice from their use pile. Both rarities it's appearing on. In fact, not to bury the lead, it's on all rarities of the Batman card. Now, we've already talked in this video about the value of being able to put sidekicks in the field. We looked at some Batman characters from the Harley Quinn team pack that lean into sidekick-related strategies about buffing them up or making characters bigger when you've got sidekicks in. And seasoned players will also tell you that being able to generate sidekicks is a good thing for thinning your bag and churning through to more valuable dice or giving you access to quick and easy blockers if you need them urgently. So this is a strong global. It's curious because it lets both players field sidekicks as well, but the super rare's got an answer for that. I'm going to focus on the common briefly though. It's got energize, draw and roll 2 dice, which, you know, drawing and rolling dice we know is a useful game text. I just don't know whether I would pay 5 for an energized game text of that nature. I mean, I suppose if you've got Asker on your team, discounting the mass down to 3, I don't know, time will tell, but what I do like is the fact that that global's on a common, which means it's going to be accessible to people of all sizes of collections, all budgets can eventually get their hands on this global for use. Super Rare's got a bit more going on though. While Batman is active, your sidekick dice get +2 attack. So that's really handy because it means that if your opponent wants to use your global, or they take the choice and do field sidekicks when you use the global, yours are going to have a bit more oomph, a bit more combat readiness compared to the ones that your opponents put in the field. He does have a second bit of game text there. When Batman attacks, swap a sidekick die in your field zone with a Robin die in your prep area or use pile at level 1. So very themey, obviously. You know, Batman's just recruiting kids off the street basically and chucking Robin outfits on them. Now, whether that's going to have mileage or not is yet to be seen. From what I know about the set, I'm not so sure the inset Robins are going to be a good combo piece with this Batman, but you might want to go back and look at the Kid Detective that I mentioned a bit earlier on. But still, the sidekick buff alone, with a sidekick making global, is a self-contained piece of combo action that you might want to explore. But let's now finish up the full suite of Batman characters and talk about the other 2 rarities as well. We've got Batman Contingencies, the uncommon, and Batman Legend of the Dark Knight, the rare. Now, the uncommon's interesting. While you have 2 or more shields in your reserve pool, Batman gets +2 attack and +2 defense, and he's carrying that global again too. So, you know, in a draft setting, for example, all rarities of the Batman are going to give you access to that global, which I think is interesting. Now, you might sort of balk a little bit at the game text, and I wouldn't blame you, really. Having 2 shields in your reserve pool, is that a thing? But it's a themey game text because Robin is a shield character in the Kryptonite Crisis set. And not only is he a shield character, there's Robins with energized game effects. So you're looking to roll those Robins in on double shield. So I think that's what's going on there. It's to tie in to the Robins with their energize. Although the focus of those Robins is very much on the Teen Titans affiliation, which ironically is the one affiliation the Batman doesn't have from the set. So there you go. But he's a bit cheaper at a 4 cost. He's got beefy stats, still carrying those painful fielding costs. But it's interesting because it's showing us that all rarities are going to be carrying the global. The rare, on the other hand, has got a little bit more going on. Here's a 5-cost mask. While Batman is active, when one of your character dice is KO'd, deal 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to target character dice. And he's got the sidekick making global. So I think this is just really interesting. I obviously am a direct damage fan. People know that, it's well known. So I like the idea of being able to KO characters and do some pingity ping ping ping. It goes in the direction of your opponent and in the direction of a character your opponent's using, which I really like. You're generating sidekicks using the global, so you're going to have the cannon fodder available to you to kill off, to plow into the Batman game effect. We've got the Dark Phoenix global in the Dark Phoenix Saga set that's going to give us the ability to KO characters on demand and get a discount. He's a mass character, so you can buy him for cheaper with your Asker. You just can't judge mass characters with the printed cost on the cards anymore. So that one is much more interesting and definitely one I'm going to try and build some teams around. I'm thinking about, I mean, it's not competitive, I don't think, but for a casual team, I'm thinking about pairing that Batman up with the Super Rare Jubilee, should I be lucky enough to pull one, of course. So that when I field the characters, I do some ping, and then KO them with the Dark Phoenix Global and do some ping, and refill them next turn, and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And with the Global on there, that's going to let you generate sidekicks to field. That's going to play well with the Jubilee. I think there's a thing there, definitely. So will Batman continue to be relevant ongoing, and should the spotlight remain firmly on his cowled head? Yes, absolutely, because these Kryptonite Crisis, all of them, to one degree or another, can have a team built around them, whether it just be casual fun or looking for something with a little bit more edge. And also, hopefully, you've enjoyed a few extra spoilers there. Ooh, that's exciting. So there we go, Batman in the upcoming Kryptonite Crisis set. Very exciting stuff. Well, there we are then, folks. I hope you've enjoyed my little celebration of Batman in Dice Masters, my spotlight on the Dark Knight himself. Please do get in touch and let me know if you see the film this weekend. I'm not going to be getting a chance to see it for another week at least yet, so give me your spoiler-free reviews. I'd love to hear from you. And also get in touch, drop a comment down below. As I mentioned before, Batman combos, Batman brews that I've not mentioned today, I love hearing them, and I know there's newer players who like seeing your comments down below too. And if you're one of those viewers who like pointing out when I miss things or get things wrong, throw that in the comments as well, why not? I'm thick enough skin to take it. While you're down there, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up, give us a like if you've enjoyed the video today. It only takes you a second, but it means ever so much to me, and it also lets me know I'm going in the right direction. But at the conclusion of the video there, I'll say thank you for watching. I've been Chris, and I'll catch you on another video around these parts sometime soon, on the Ministry of Dice podcast, or over on BritRoller6.com sometime soon. See you later, folks.